In 2003, Europe witnessed one of the smartest and most dangerous heists in modern history. This wasn't a normal crime, and it definitely wasn't a quick smash and grab. This was a robbery planned with terrifying precision, over years. It was executed so quietly, so cleanly, that it almost felt unreal. In Belgium, inside a small area known worldwide as the diamond capital of the world, there exists a complex network through which nearly 80% of the world's diamonds pass. Diamonds worth around $35 billion every single year. A tiny district, but one of the most heavily protected places on planet Earth. So protected, in fact, that it has its own dedicated security force known as the Diamond Police, a unit that handles only diamond-related crimes. At the very heart of this district stood a vault that was considered at the time one of the most secure and sophisticated vaults in the world. 10 full layers of security, alarm systems, motion sensors, thermal detectors, mechanical locks, electronic locks, physical barriers designed to be impossible to bypass, or so everyone believed. But one man decided to do what no one else even dared to imagine. This man didn't act randomly, and he didn't rely on luck. He carefully built a team, 5 people total, each one with a specific skill that the plan could not survive without. Over time, this group became a perfectly tuned machine. Silent, patient, precise. For 2 full years, they watched, studied, tested, prepared. 2 years waiting for the perfect moment. And when that night finally arrived, every single security layer was defeated, one by one. No alarms, no alerts, no police response, nothing. When morning came, diamonds worth nearly $100 million were simply gone. What followed would later be labeled as the largest diamond heist in history. A crime that shocked security experts, humiliated advanced protection systems, and left investigators with one haunting question. How could one man, with only 4 others, defeat a security system designed to be impossible to break? And the strangest part? What actually happened inside that vault was far more complex, far more brilliant, and far more dangerous than anyone could ever imagine. So now, let's dive into the details that turned the impossible into reality. Right in the heart of Antwerp, there stands one building, more important than anything around it. The Antwerp World Diamond Center. The largest building in the entire district, home to the biggest diamond companies on Earth. And here's the first strange thing. The building only faces one single street. On both ends of that street, there are automatic security barriers that can shut everything down in seconds, locking the entire area. No cars in, no cars out. Getting inside the building isn't simple, not even close. Every person carries a personal electronic access card. When you enter, it's scanned. Your name is logged. The exact time is recorded. When you leave, same thing. Everything is tracked. Outside, cameras cover every possible angle. Inside, a dense surveillance network, with security guards watching every move throughout the workday. But all of that? That's just the surface. Because underground, 2 full floors below street level, is where the real heart of the building lies. The main vault. A place often described as the most diamond-concentrated spot on planet Earth. Not metaphorically, literally. The vault isn't filled with loose diamonds. Instead, it contains hundreds of safety deposit boxes. Each box belongs to a specific trader or company. Each one has its own unique key, a key held by only one person. The idea is simple. Put your diamonds here and forget about them. Because, at least in theory, this place is untouchable. Why? Because the vault is protected by 10 full layers of security. 10. Enough to make even thinking about a robbery sound completely insane. The first layer? A massive steel door. 3 tons of solid metal, 30 centimeters thick. Engineers estimated that breaking through it would require at least 12 straight hours of non-stop drilling with heavy industrial equipment. But that alone makes it impossible, because beneath the door is a vibration sensor. The smallest drill, the lightest impact, instant alarm. Then comes the digital lock, a 4-digit code. But here's the twist. Each digit isn't from 0 to 9. It's from 0 to 99. The number of possible combinations is so massive that guessing it is practically impossible. And without the correct code, the door won't accept the key. Yes, there's also a key. A long metal key. Almost 30 centimeters in length, thick enough to match the door itself. But even that isn't the end. In the upper corner of the door, there's a magnetic sensor. The moment its 2 parts separate, the second the door opens, the alarm explodes into action. Meaning this: even if you somehow had the code and the key, opening the door alone would trigger the entire system. And let's say, just for a moment, that you beat all of that. What's waiting inside is even worse. Inside the vault, there are multiple sensors. A light sensor mounted on the ceiling. A combined heat and motion sensor fixed to the wall. Any movement, any change in light, any shift in temperature. The alarm shows no mercy. And even if, somehow, you defeated the sensors, there are cameras inside the vault itself, streaming live to the security guards. And even if a miracle happened, and you got past everything, you still wouldn't see diamonds waiting for you. You'd see rows of locked safety boxes, each one secured with an extremely complex lock, designed to resist any forced entry. So after all of this, only one question remains. Who would be crazy enough to even think about robbing a place like this? The man who decided to challenge 10 layers of security as if he were dealing with an ordinary door. His name was Leonardo Notarbartolo, an Italian man, but calling him just a thief doesn't even come close. What truly set Leonardo apart wasn't brute force, and it wasn't intelligence alone. It was his ability to mesmerize. He had rare charisma, the kind you find in master con artists. From the very first meeting, he made people feel comfortable, relaxed, safe. You'd lower your guard. You'd trust him. You'd treat him like an old friend. And then, the moment you felt completely secure, he would surprise you. Leonardo once said it himself, without hesitation. I was born to be a thief, and he meant it. At just 19 years old, he began his criminal career by stealing luxury sports cars. That was only the beginning, because his ambition didn't stop at cars. A few years later, he realized there was a smarter target, something lighter, more valuable. Diamonds. Diamonds don't need trucks to transport. They're small, easy to hide, incredibly valuable, and most importantly, almost impossible to trace. Once Leonardo entered that world, he discovered something else about himself. He had a real passion for jewelry. Not just interest, talent. He had an artistic eye for design. That passion pushed him to open his own jewelry store. Not just as a cover, but because he genuinely loved the business. Over time, he built a powerful network, connections in the legal world and others in the underworld. A network that made selling stolen diamonds on the black market smooth and efficient. But life doesn't always go according to plan. One day, one of Leonardo's jewelry stores was robbed. The irony? The thief was robbed. The loss was heavy, financially, psychologically. That moment changed everything. The anger, the need to recover what he'd lost. It all transformed into a crazy idea, an idea bigger than anything he had ever attempted before. That was likely the moment his true dream was born, stealing the Antwerp World Diamond Center. It wasn't just about money. Yes, the fortune inside that vault was unimaginable. But more than that, the heist itself would be legendary, an achievement that would carve his name into the history of the greatest thieves who ever lived. But Leonardo wasn't reckless. He knew that approaching a place like that without preparation would be suicide. So he chose the smartest path. In a bold move, he personally walked into the massive building and introduced himself as a diamond dealer looking to rent an office. And the truth? He wasn't lying. He was a real diamond trader. He owned jewelry stores. He worked in the industry. The building manager never suspected a thing. Everything seemed normal, official, convincing. And just like that, the office was rented to him. From that moment on, Leonardo gained something more dangerous than any tool or weapon, an electronic access card, a card that allowed him to enter and exit the building whenever he wanted, day or night, without raising any suspicion. And this happened in the year 2000, 3 full years before the heist was ever carried out. 3 years of planning, observation, and collecting every single detail. During this time, Leonardo wasn't just watching from the outside anymore. He became part of the building itself. As an official tenant inside the Antwerp Diamond Center, Leonardo had the legal right to rent a safety deposit box inside the vault. And the moment he rented that box, he automatically gained access to the underground floors where the main vault was located. Anyone who owned a box down there was allowed to enter the vault during working hours. All they had to do was show their electronic access card to the guard monitoring the area through cameras. Once the identity was confirmed, entry was granted. No questions asked. During business hours, the massive steel vault door was kept open at all times. Actual entry, however, happened through a smaller door known as the day door. This door opened and closed with each customer's visit, without needing to shut the main vault door every time. Customers entered alone. No escorts, no supervision inside. An armed guard stood outside the vault. Another watched through cameras. But inside the room itself, total privacy. And Leonardo took full advantage of that. Every visit, he studied the vault not with the eyes of a diamond dealer, but with the eyes of a professional thief. He carried a specially modified bag with him, one that hid a tiny camera built into one of its edges. No one noticed it. That camera recorded everything: the exact locations of the sensors, the angles of the cameras, the structure of the walls, the placement of every device, even the smallest details most people would never notice. Visit after visit, detail after detail. Leonardo was building a complete mental map of the vault. He didn't move a single step toward execution until he felt that he knew the place as if he had designed it himself. Then, in the summer of 2002, about 8 months before the heist, Leonardo decided it was finally time to move to the next phase: building the team. He returned to his hometown in Italy, a city called Turin. In the 1990s, Turin had a dangerous reputation. It was known as the City of Thieves, a place that produced some of the most skilled burglars and criminal specialists in the country. They weren't one organized group, but they were an unofficial network. They worked together when needed, each man with his own specialty, each one with a role. The first person Leonardo contacted was a man named Fernando Vigneto. His nickname? The Monster. And just like the name suggests, Fernando was the guy for anything that required physical strength or direct, high-risk action. Leonardo didn't need to convince him. The moment he mentioned the sheer value of the diamonds inside that vault, the answer came instantly. I'm in. Absolutely. And just like that, the first piece of the most dangerous diamond heist in history was officially in place. Breaking into a vault, this complex didn't just require muscle, it required an extremely precise mind. And this is where the second member of the crew came in. His name was Elio Donorio. They called him the Genius. Elio was assigned the most dangerous task of the entire operation, neutralizing the electronic security systems. And his expertise wasn't accidental. He actually ran a legitimate business selling and installing security and surveillance systems. He understood these systems from the inside out. He knew how they were built, how they were layered, and most importantly, how to shut them down without leaving a trace. He was the perfect man for the job. Even with these two men on board, Leonardo still hadn't solved all the security layers. So he continued making regular trips to the diamond capital, at least once every single month. The vault officially opened at 7 a.m., and since Leonardo was a registered tenant in the building, he had full access at any time. Sometimes he would arrive before opening hours, waiting in front of the vault door, pretending he had urgent business that simply couldn't wait. This allowed him to watch the guards open the vault with his own eyes. They never let him see the secret code. But he noticed something else, something crucial. A long metal key, about 30 centimeters long. A key that went all the way through the massive steel door. At that exact moment, Leonardo realized something terrifying. Copying that key would be one of the hardest challenges of the entire heist. And that's when the fourth member entered the story. A mysterious man. No one knew his real name. No one knew what he looked like. No background. No photos. No records. He was known by one name only, the King of Keys, a legendary expert in crafting and duplicating complex keys, the only man capable of handling a lock like this. At this stage, the crew needed something else just as critical, the building blueprints. These plans would give them a full overview of corridors, spaces, and access points, allowing them to choose the safest and fastest route to the vault. And once again, Leonardo took a bold step. He approached the building manager directly, told her his company was expanding, said he was considering renting additional offices, and casually asked for the building plans to help him plan the expansion. And the shocking part? She didn't hesitate. Not only did she agree, she handed over the full floor plans, including the entire building layout, including the location of the vault itself. The plans didn't show security systems, but they revealed all the routes, passages, and internal spaces. For the crew, this was pure gold. A massive human security failure, made possible by Leonardo's charm and his uncanny ability to earn trust. After studying the blueprints, they discovered the perfect access route, a path that allowed them to reach the building's garage directly from a side street, completely avoiding the main road, the barriers, and the checkpoints. But even that route wasn't simple. The garage doors themselves were protected by strong security systems. At that point, Leonardo knew something was missing. They needed a fifth man, someone absolutely reliable, a professional driver, calm under pressure, fast when it mattered. The choice fell on someone Leonardo had worked with before, a man he trusted blindly. His name was Pietro Tavano. They called him Speedy. And just like that, The team was complete. 5 men, each with a specific role, a unique skill, and a task no one else could replace. Now there was only one thing left to do: turn this insane plan into reality. Leonardo wasn't satisfied with everything he had achieved so far. During those years, he kept visiting the building from time to time, not just for business, but out of carefully calculated curiosity. He began pushing boundaries, trying to access places he was never supposed to enter, like the security guards' rooms, and with his usual charm, that natural ability to make people feel comfortable, relaxed, and trusting, he slowly built friendly relationships with the guards. Little by little, they stopped seeing him as just another tenant. They saw him as a friend, and over time, he was occasionally allowed into the surveillance room itself, a place that was supposed to be strictly off-limits. Inside, Leonardo didn't just watch the cameras. He watched the people behind them, guard routines, shift changes, moments of focus, and moments of distraction. Every tiny detail, and that's when he discovered something shocking. The most dangerous realization of all. At night, no one was actually watching the cameras. Yes, the cameras were running, they were recording everything, but after business hours, no human eyes were on the screens. The guards fully trusted the security systems. They believed triggering an alarm without being detected was impossible. That discovery changed everything. The crew gathered and discussed it seriously. They knew this job couldn't afford mistakes, and it couldn't be delayed. The entire operation had to be done in one single night. Their time window? No more than 5 hours. Any delay, any hesitation, any wrong move, and everything would collapse. The hardest question remained: how do you bypass all those complex systems in such a short amount of time? That's when the most dangerous decision of the entire plan was made. They agreed that the genius would enter the vault alone, 5 days before the robbery, to disable some of the security systems in advance. The plan was insanely bold. One night, the genius used Leonardo's electronic access card and disguised himself as a maintenance worker. When he arrived at the building, he told the guards he had a job to do inside Leonardo's office. He showed them the access card, along with forged paperwork and a perfectly prepared fake invoice. And since any office tenant was allowed to enter at any time, nothing seemed suspicious. The evening guards let him in without hesitation, but he wasn't heading to the office. His real target was underground, the vault. He quietly made his way down. Nothing stopped him. No one was watching the screens. No one noticed a thing. The first thing he did was cover the surveillance cameras inside the vault so they wouldn't record his movements. Then he pulled out a small object, a high-precision camera, custom-built by him. Carefully, he mounted it near the ceiling of the vault. This camera wasn't for monitoring, it was for spying. The next morning, it would record the guard opening the vault, the secret code, the exact way the long metal key was inserted. And with that footage, the Key King believed he could recreate the key perfectly, using nothing but the video. It sounded impossible. But this crew didn't believe in the word impossible. What they didn't know yet was that this single move had brought them closer than ever to pulling off the greatest diamond heist in history. The next step was the most dangerous one yet: disabling the magnetic sensor. This sensor wasn't simple at all. It consisted of 2 metal pieces mounted at the top corner of the vault door. The moment the door opened, and those 2 pieces separated even slightly, the alarm would trigger instantly. No delay, No second chances. This was the moment when the genius truly earned his nickname. What he did was incredibly smart. He crafted a thin aluminum plate, then carefully attached it to the two magnetic pieces, locking them together so they would stay connected, no matter what happened. After that, he unscrewed the bolts holding the sensor in place and removed the entire device, without allowing the two pieces to separate for even a split second. The result? The magnetic field never broke. The alarm never triggered, and the vault felt nothing. Once he confirmed the experiment worked, he reinstalled everything exactly as it was, leaving no trace that anyone had ever touched it. Now they knew something crucial. On the night of the heist, they could neutralize this sensor in seconds, with zero risk. But that wasn't the only challenge. There was still the side garage door. The entrance that led straight into the building, away from the main street, away from the automatic barriers and checkpoints. This door didn't open with a key. It opened using a specific electronic frequency, and discovering that frequency was supposed to be impossible. But not for the genius. Using his deep experience with security systems, he accessed the control unit itself, analyzed the signal, and pinpointed the exact frequency. His knowledge wasn't theoretical. He worked professionally installing security systems. He knew how they were built, and more importantly, how to break them. So in a single nighttime visit, he completed every task. He planted a hidden camera to capture the vault code and the exact movement of the long metal key. He figured out how to disable the magnetic sensor. He discovered the frequency to open the garage door. Only one obstacle remained: the sensors inside the vault itself. Inside, there were a light sensor mounted in the ceiling and a combined motion and heat sensor fixed to the wall. The crew bought an identical device and began testing. After multiple experiments, they discovered something incredible. If the sensor was covered with special foam cardboard, its detection waves were blocked completely. The device became blind. But there was a deadly problem. The moment they entered the vault, the sensor would detect them before they could cover it. So they needed another solution, a way to weaken the sensor in advance. And once again, Leonardo stepped in, the mastermind, the only person who could legally enter the vault without raising suspicion. This step had to be done during business hours, while the vault was open and guards were watching through the cameras. On the morning of February 14th, 2003, just one day before the heist, Leonardo entered the building as usual, swiping his access card calmly. He went down to the vault, showed his badge to the guards, and walked in. But this time, he was hiding something in his suit sleeve, a can of hairspray. He approached his safety deposit box. The motion sensor was nearby, so he stretched his body, as if tired. And in a perfectly timed moment, he sprayed the hairspray directly onto the sensor. It wasn't random. It was precise. But the guard watching the cameras felt something wasn't right. He left the monitoring room and headed straight for the vault. A moment of silence, tension, real danger. When the guard arrived, Leonardo was already one step ahead. He pretended to fix his hair, started talking calmly and confidently, using his natural charm to dissolve any suspicion. The guard believed him and walked away. As for the sensor, it wasn't fully disabled, but its efficiency dropped to the absolute minimum, and that was all they needed. On the night of the heist, they would have just a few seconds to cover it with the foam cardboard. After that, nothing would stand between the crew and the largest diamond vault in the world. The night before the heist, All 5 members of the crew gathered inside Leonardo's apartment in Antwerp. It felt like that moment right before you jump into the unknown, everyone holding their breath. They went over the plan one last time, step by step, tool by tool. Each man double-checked his role. The excitement was real, but underneath it was a quiet, heavy tension, because there were only 2 possible outcomes: total success or complete collapse. Then the day came, Saturday, February 15th, 2003. As night fell, they moved. Pietro, known as the Fast One, took the wheel. He drove calmly through side streets, avoiding attention, until they reached the road leading to the Diamond Building's garage. And there came the first real test. The genius activated the frequency he had discovered earlier. 1 click. The garage door opened smoothly, almost gracefully, as if the building itself was welcoming them inside. They drove in. From this moment on, there was no room for mistakes. In front of them stood a sequence of locked doors. Each one represented another layer of security. But the crew was ready. The locks they had bought beforehand were exact matches to the originals, and the master of keys had crafted a master key capable of opening most of them. Door after door, hallway after hallway, silent, focused, until they reached the stairs, and finally arrived at the vault room. This was it. The real challenge. First move, disable the surveillance camera inside the room. No footage, no evidence. Then came the magnetic sensor, the 2 metal pieces mounted at the top of the vault door. If they separated for even 1 second, the alarm would scream, just like they practiced. The genius attached the aluminum plate, loosened the screws, and lowered both pieces together, never breaking the magnetic field. The alarm stayed silent. The first major layer was down. Next step, the code. This task belonged to the beast, a 4-number code, each number made of 2 digits, captured earlier by the hidden camera. He entered the sequence, 1 digit at a time. Silence. Then, the slot for the key opened. Now only 1 obstacle remained. The key. A long steel key, nearly 30 centimeters in length. A replica crafted by the master of keys. Based only on video footage. The key slid into place. Nothing. They tried again. Still nothing. The key didn't fit correctly. And in that moment, after years of planning, after beating impossible security systems, after coming this far, time stopped. The question no one wanted to ask suddenly became terrifyingly real. Is this where it ends? Do they walk away, leaving everything behind? Or do they still have one final card left to play? A card more dangerous than anything before. Leonardo wasn't the mastermind by accident. He was obsessed with details, watching everything, memorizing the place as if he'd built it himself. By intentionally staying close to the guards, and always being around during opening and closing hours, he started noticing something no one else ever did. And the most dangerous discovery of all was this. The guards didn't store the vault key in a high-security safe. They kept it in a regular safe, inside a small room right next to the main vault. A fatal security mistake. One that only years of careful observation and Leonardo's relationship with the guards made possible. Quietly, the crew moved into the adjacent room and took the original vault key. At that moment, there were no real obstacles left. The vault door was finally under their control, but before opening it, there was one last step, and it had to be perfect. They needed complete darkness. Inside the vault, there was a light sensor, and if it detected even a sudden change in brightness, The alarm could trigger instantly. Some reports suggest they may have used night vision goggles. What's certain is this. The vault door finally opened. The first man inside was the monster. Calm, focused, with a roll of tape in his hand. He moved straight to the light sensor mounted inside the vault and carefully covered it, isolating it completely. Then he turned to the motion and heat sensor, the same one Leonardo had weakened the day before with hairspray. Even weakened, it was still dangerous. Body movement, rising temperature. Any sudden change could still trigger the alarm. This was the most dangerous moment of the entire operation. Slowly, carefully, with nerves stretched to the limit. They used a long stick, with a piece of foam attached to the end, and inched it closer and closer until it fully covered the sensor. They secured it tightly to the wall with tape, and just like that, every security system collapsed. The vault, once called impossible to break into, was now completely under their control. Only one step remained. The loot. In front of them stood 190 locked safety deposit boxes. Leonardo knew these boxes well. During his past visits, he opened his own box every single time, studying the lock, examining it patiently, learning its weaknesses. From the outside, the lock was extremely strong, but in the back, there was a weak plastic component. The crew exploited that flaw with surgical precision. They designed a special tool, measured down to the millimeter, placed it directly on the lock, then used pliers in a very specific sequence. Pressure, twist, controlled force, until the internal mechanism snapped, one by one. The boxes opened. Inside them, the treasures piled up. Cash, rare coins, luxury jewelry, but the real prize was waiting. Diamonds, massive quantities of diamonds, the haul that would later seal this operation's place in history as the largest diamond heist the world had ever seen. The crew started grabbing everything they could, without hesitation. Time was working against them, but luck was on their side. Diamonds don't take up space. A handful can be worth millions. The bags filled fast. Diamonds, gold, high-end jewelry. With every passing minute, they realized just how massive this heist really was. Later estimates put the value at around $100 million. In 2003, that number was insane. Adjusted for today's money, it would be far higher. And yet, they didn't let greed ruin the operation. They opened around 100 safety deposit boxes out of nearly 190 and left the rest untouched. They knew better. Too much weight. Too much time. One mistake could end everything. Once the bags were full, it was time to disappear. But before leaving, there was something just as important as the theft itself, erasing every trace. They went straight to the surveillance room, where all the security camera tapes were stored. They didn't just take the recordings from the night of the robbery. They took everything, an entire week's worth of footage, from every camera in the building. Even the night when the genius had slipped in alone to sabotage the security systems. Those recordings vanished too. It was a brilliant move. It erased faces, movements, any chance of linking the crime back to them. Then they retraced their steps, through the same corridors, back to the garage. That's where the fast one was waiting behind the wheel. The bags were loaded, doors shut, and the car rolled away from the scene of the most complex diamond heist in history. The entire operation had taken about 5.5 hours. By sunrise, around 6 in the morning, they arrived at Leonardo's apartment in Antwerp. The door closed behind them, and there it was. Gold, diamonds, jewelry, cash, spread out on the floor. A moment of silence, then a rush of emotions that's hard to describe. Euphoria, adrenaline, and underneath it all, fear. They knew they had pulled off something the world would talk about for decades. They counted everything. Split the loot. Each man took his share. But the story wasn't over. Next came one of the most critical steps of all: cleaning. The apartment was scrubbed from top to bottom. Anything that could connect them to the crime had to go. Even the trash. Nothing was left behind. Because they knew. One fingerprint, one tiny mistake, could bring the entire operation crashing down. And then came the final decision. Leave Belgium. Immediately. They were certain the police would launch one of the biggest manhunts the country had ever seen, but they felt safe. At the time, Belgium and Italy had no extradition treaty. Even if their identities were discovered, handing them over wouldn't be easy, or so they thought. And just like that, the men behind the greatest diamond heist in history disappeared into the shadows. But what they didn't know was that the story was far from over. On Sunday night, February 16th, 2003, just one day after the heist, the gang made a critical decision. They agreed to split up. Each man would return to Italy alone to avoid drawing attention, to avoid suspicion. But two of them stayed together. Leonardo, the mastermind, and Pietro, the driver, known as the Fast One. They loaded their share of the diamonds into the car, and with them, they carried something just as dangerous: the trash. Bags filled with evidence from Leonardo's apartment. Their mission was simple: get rid of it completely. As they drove, something changed. Pietro started to panic. He kept checking the mirrors over and over. His hands were tight on the steering wheel. He felt like they were being followed. His voice started shaking. "We need to stop. Right now. We have to dump the trash. I don't feel safe." Leonardo tried to calm him down. He explained that dumping the bags randomly could make things worse. They needed the right place, somewhere isolated. But Pietro was already losing control. They were driving through a nearly deserted road, with a thick forest on one side. Leonardo finally sighed and said, "Fine. We'll stop here." The car pulled over. Leonardo told Pietro to stay inside while he walked into the forest, looking for a hidden spot where they could burn the trash without being seen. But while Leonardo was deep among the trees, Pietro completely snapped. Sitting alone in the car, his anxiety exploded. Suddenly he jumped out, grabbed the trash bags, and without thinking, he started throwing them off a nearby bridge, right out in the open beside the road. When Leonardo came back, he froze. Security tapes were hanging from tree branches. Papers and documents were scattered everywhere. Leonardo screamed, "What are you doing? Have you lost your mind?" In that moment, Leonardo knew it was over. The damage was done. There was no way to collect everything again. They had only one option left. They spread the trash even more, hoping time, rain, and chance would destroy it, or that no one would ever notice it. Then they got back into the car and drove on toward Italy, diamonds still with them. Some people might ask, didn't anyone stop them at the border? The answer is simple: no. Because countries inside the Schengen area don't have border checkpoints. They crossed freely, no questions, no searches, and just like that, the men behind the largest diamond heist in history disappeared into the night. But what they didn't know was that those trash bags were about to become their biggest mistake. On Monday morning, February 17th, 2003, employees returned to work at the Diamond Center after the weekend. When the guard responsible for opening the vault went down to the basement and unlocked the door, he froze in place. What he saw was shocking. The vault was completely destroyed, safety boxes ripped open, documents scattered everywhere, fragments of jewelry covering the floor. Some of it left behind because the thieves simply couldn't carry it all. Within minutes, the Diamond Police were called in. This elite unit handled only one thing: crimes involving diamonds. And from the very beginning, they were certain of one thing. This was not a random robbery. This was an inside job. Every single layer of security had been disabled with precision, as if the thieves knew the building, the systems, and the routines better than the people who designed them. Then came the next shock. When investigators tried to review the security footage, they found that all the tapes were gone. At that moment, it became clear. They weren't dealing with amateurs. This was a professional, disciplined, and highly intelligent crew. But at almost the same time, just a few kilometers away, something unexpected was happening. An elderly, retired man was walking through a nearby forest, the same forest where Leonardo and Pietro had dumped their trash. The man often walked there, and he was annoyed to see garbage thrown among the trees. As he got closer, something caught his eye. Some of the papers had a name printed on them: the Antwerp World Diamond Center. He froze. That very morning, his wife had told him about the biggest diamond heist in Belgian history. Now, standing there in the forest, the pieces started coming together. Carefully, he went through the trash, and with every item he found, his suspicion grew stronger. Without hesitation, he called the police. Investigators arrived quickly and began sorting through the garbage. And what they found was devastating. Security camera tapes, damaged and unusable. Tiny metal clips, the kind used to hold gemstones in jewelry. A detail that would later become extremely important. And then, the fatal mistake. A business card. It belonged to a man named Elio Denorio, known as the Genius. Along with it, they found a fake work authorization document, the same one used to enter the building days before the robbery. At that moment, the thread began to unravel. The documents led straight to Leonardo Notarbartolo, the man who rented an office inside the Diamond Center itself. As investigators dug deeper, they uncovered something disturbing. In 3 full years of renting that office, Leonardo had shown no real business activity at all. And there was something even more suspicious. Out of all the safety deposit boxes that were broken into, Leonardo's box was the only one left untouched. At that point, suspicion was no longer a theory. It was almost certainty. But there was a major problem. All the evidence they had was circumstantial, and Leonardo was already back in Turin, Italy. And since Belgium and Italy had no extradition agreement at the time, investigators believed they had hit a dead end. At least, that's what they thought. Just 1 week later, something happened that nobody expected. Leonardo started to feel untouchable, like he had completely gotten away with it. At first, it was just relief, then confidence, and slowly, that confidence turned into something far more dangerous: arrogance. He was absolutely convinced they had left no evidence behind, so he made a reckless decision. He went back to Antwerp. Yes, back to the crime scene. His goal wasn't innocent. He wanted to erase anything that might still connect him to the robbery, whether in the apartment he stayed in or the office he had rented inside the diamond center. This time, he didn't come alone. He brought his wife and his son with him. He left them at the apartment and told them one thing: get rid of everything. Papers, objects, anything at all. Throw it away. Leonardo, meanwhile, headed straight to the diamond center. He walked in using his access card, calmly, as if nothing had ever happened. The guard who saw him could barely believe his eyes. This man actually came back? Building management immediately sensed danger. They called the police right away. And while waiting for them to arrive, the building manager did something clever. She stopped Leonardo, started a casual conversation, kept him busy. The roles had reversed. Then suddenly, the Diamond Squad arrived. The moment Leonardo saw them, his stomach dropped. He knew it instantly. The game was over. Still, he held his composure, played the innocent man to the very end. The investigators asked him for the apartment address. He tried to stall. His wife and son were still there, getting rid of evidence. But under pressure, he finally gave it up. At the same time, another police unit was already on the way to the apartment. When they arrived, they found a strange scene. Leonardo's wife and son were halfway down the stairs, dragging garbage bags out of the building. The officers stopped them immediately and searched the apartment. And that's when everything collapsed. They found unregistered SIM cards, traceable ones. Working with the telecom company, police confirmed that one of those SIM cards had been inside the Diamond Center on the night of the robbery. They also found tiny stones used to secure gemstones and jewelry. They were an exact match to the ones previously discovered in the forest trash. At that moment, there was no doubt left. Leonardo was arrested. Belgian authorities contacted Italy and requested cooperation. This time, Italy agreed. Italian police raided Leonardo's home in Turin. Inside, they found a small safe, and inside the safe, the shock. 17 diamonds. One of them was sealed in a special envelope with a serial number. When they checked it, it was a perfect match. That diamond had come directly from the Antwerp Diamond Center vault. An undeniable piece of evidence. But here's the twist. Almost unbelievable. The Italian search warrant was issued to look for weapons only. And under Italian law, police were not allowed to seize anything else. So the diamonds were never confiscated. Not by Belgium, not by Italy. Not a single stolen diamond was ever recovered, and that was the last time any law enforcement agency ever laid eyes on the loot from the greatest diamond heist in history. Leonardo was arrested in Belgium, and the case against him was extremely strong. Even so, he refused to give up a single one of his partners. Not one name, not one hint. But the truth is, his silence wasn't enough to save them. The police already had too much. DNA traces, documents, fingerprints, evidence that slowly but surely exposed most of the crew. And despite the fact that there was no official extradition treaty between Italy and Belgium at the time, the Italian authorities did something unexpected. They cooperated. One by one, the members of the gang were arrested and handed over to Belgium. They caught Elio, the genius, Fernando, the monster, and Pietro, the fast one. Only one man remained a mystery: the key master. To this day, no one knows his real name, no face, no identity. DNA confirmed that he was inside the vault on the night of the heist, and yet he vanished completely, as if he never existed at all. And now, listen carefully to the verdicts, because this is where the story turns both ridiculous and tragic at the same time. Belgian theft laws are honestly, a joke. It doesn't matter what you steal, an apple or $1 billion in diamonds. If no violence was used, the punishment is shockingly light. The maximum sentence? 5 years. That's it. So Leonardo, the mastermind behind the greatest diamond heist in history, was sentenced to just 5 years in prison. The other 3? 6 months. Each. And here's the craziest part of all. Not a single dollar was recovered. No diamonds, no jewelry, no cash. $100 million gone. They served their time. They walked free. By 2008 and 2009, every one of them was back to living their life, free and rich. They chose to disappear quietly. No interviews, no recent photos, no confirmed locations. A strange ending, an unexpected one. Honestly, when I first learned that they were arrested, I never imagined this would be the ending. And I'm pretty sure you feel the same way, but this is what really happened. And this brings us to the end of our story. If you enjoyed it, and I know you did if you made it this far, don't forget to support the channel. Hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell, because there are more unbelievable stories waiting for you, like the teenager who stole planes, cars, and houses, and completely confused the FBI, or the shocking story of the London Underground attack. Incredible stories, and they're already on your screen.